Sonya Ballantyne, and I am a Swampy Cree writer and filmmaker from the Cree Nation, or Grand Rapids, in northern Manitoba. When I was a kid, the only show featuring Native people on TV was on CBC called North of 60. In the WWE, which was the WWF at the time, they had my favorite wrestler, Tatanka. But at 25 years old, and these were still the only Native people on TV. I wanted Native girls and women, the sisters I grew up with, to be the heroes in the movies we all loved.
I get teased about it, about being such an outspoken advocate for media representation, but I'm like, when I was a kid, I didn't like that there wasn't people like me in movies. It was the loneliest feeling in the world. Like, why am I not important enough to be on Star Trek? Why am I not important enough to be a pro wrestler? Like, I hated that because I'm like, why is it always white people that get to be WWF champion or the captain of the Enterprise? Like, why can't I do that? Why can't my mom be that person? I remember the anger I had because I thought Bilbo in The Hobbit was Native. I always assumed that when I first read it. He was Native. He's a Hobbit, but he's Native. And when we read the book in grade 5, I had already read it, but we were reading it because my whole class was dumb, so we were reading it on tape. So we listened to a chapter every day, and the tape cover had a white Bilbo, and I'm like, what is this crap? Like, this is terrible. When I was a kid, I saw Middle Earth as my hometown. So, and they have magic existing in their universe, so why doesn't magic exist in our universe? And that's why I really loved Native spirituality, because you have such an influence on everything that your thoughts and your intentions have an impact in the world. I think being a Native lady is really vulnerable. Like, I have a podcast, and we discussed briefly about what it's like being a Native girl in Winnipeg and having to worry because in addition to being a woman and having to deal with like the constant threats of being a lady in a city and like dudes being assholes, we have that additional danger of being a Native lady, which goes back to that people not knowing we're alive. People don't see us as human beings. And one of the things I hope I do with my work is let people know that Native people belong here in the present and in the future. I think the biggest risk was working on My Boy, which is a documentary I'm producing, my friend Sage is directing, and it's about missing and murdered Indigenous men. So My Boy is about a man named Colten who went missing and how his mother Lydia is looking for him right now. And Lydia was telling me about how people will actually chase her away from missing and murdered women inquiries and events because her son doesn't count. It has no closure. That was the one big problem I had with it too, is that we haven't found him. And I think that's going to be very difficult to reconcile when we edit it. I decided that I wanted to do it just because of Lydia's story, that she's just this lone woman fighting for people to remember her child.
For me, the title My Boy expresses the love between a mother and a son.
I think for too long we've been focused too much on white guys, that we need more stories about everybody else. For Crash Site, the first movie I ever made, I dressed the lead character intentionally like a girl from Main Street just because I'm like, she matters too. She's valid. She is adorable and she's strong. So leave her alone. So that's one of the big things I'm doing. I'm like, I'm not more valid as a Native person than anyone else. And I really hate that there's a lot of that stigma that goes around because I'm like, that's another bit of erasure for us. I really hate that. Like, who is more Native than everybody else? And I'm like, we're all Native, damn it. Except for the people who aren't. The idea I have a lot with the stuff I do is like, I don't want another little girl like me to feel the loneliness I felt. Being a nerd was such a big part of my identity when I was young, and I was so ashamed of it because like, why can't I be a normal girl who wants to make out with guys and like do drugs and stuff like that? Why can't I be like that? And so I think if I could tell myself anything from that time would be to just be who you are, because it's enough. Like, I think a lot of people don't hear that. It's enough to be who you are. You don't have to be anything else.